Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I'm bringing you another episode of How Do You Define Infusionsoft Success? This week my guest is Steve Woody, and it was interesting. I was waiting for pizza at last Sunday, and I'm going through my Facebook, and Steve's someone that I've been connected to somehow on Facebook, and he's talking about this thing called Graphly and the dashboards and how the way he wrote about it was just, hey, this has really made a difference in the way I use Infusionsoft. And so I reached out to him, and we've been talking just in preparation for this, and I realized he's got like a dozen other things that we can talk about. So Steve, thank you so much for joining me today.
George, it's an honor. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, so we have yet another Brit involved in Infusionsoft. I know there's plenty of you guys over on the other side that do this, but as I saw you as someone that had discovered a really cool tool, and apparently there's a lot more to this. So why don't we start off with the first thing, which is your WPFusion tool. Why did you decide to build what looks like yet another membership type plugin?
Good question. Good question. And I suppose what it boiled down to is I had Infusionsoft, and I'm an avid WordPress user, and I'm a website developer as well. So I was building websites for people, and I needed a CRM system, and so I looked at all the options that were out there. And I've come up from Sugar CRM through to Capsule, through MailChimp, and I've built myself up to the point when I was like, right, I can't afford Infusionsoft, but I need it. So it went on a credit card, and I found a way. Right. And then what I found is, like with a lot of people that call it Confusionsoft, and when I went to traffic and conversion last year,
I have to show you the back of my shirt.
I love it, and this was what was interesting at traffic and conversion last year, is that there were so many people that have actually built a business on, are you only using 10% of Infusionsoft? Right. And so I noticed there was some challenges.
By the way, I sometimes it's kind of like 10% of Infusionsoft may be all you need, but is it the right 10%?
Great question, and I think this is a lot of people don't realize what it can do. Yeah. And here's the thing, I don't use a lot of Infusionsoft. I don't use their shopping cart. I don't use their affiliate program. I only use the campaign builder and the autoresponder and the CRM system. That's all I use. I don't use anything else in Infusionsoft.
And it's probably more than 10%, but it's the part you need, right?
Right, exactly, because there are other programs out there that I think do a different job more effectively. Gotcha. So what it was for me was that I wanted to integrate the two together, WordPress and Infusionsoft. I use WooCommerce, I use Gravity Forms, I use Affiliate WP. They're free systems that are built for the website. Right. Infusionsoft's not built for the website, it's built for the application-based CRM side of things, and it doesn't integrate that well. So we set out to build a connection. Well, first of all, I looked at what was on the market, looked at iMember 360, very heavy, very, very heavy. A lot of API calls, some of the code is old. They were the first ones. They hit the scene. They were the only solution.
Because you and I kind of understand this because we're both programmers. Why is that a big deal?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. One, it slows the site down. That's the biggest problem.
Well, especially
you're putting a lot of additional pressure onto a website that slows the site down. It can cause conflicts in some of the code, and it does a lot of things. And it's like buying a tank to go down to the corner shop to get your groceries. It's a lot of stuff, which is nice because everyone wants to play with a tank. But is it really practical? Right. And so we decided against it. I looked at Wisp, which was the other membership plugin on the market by Mark Summers. Right. I love Mark. Mark's an amazing guy. And I can tell you one day, I'll tell you an amazing story about Mark, how he paid for my flight to meet my wife. Long story. We'll go into that one another time. But basically, we tried Wisp, and it did a lot of things that we didn't agree with. There was a few things in the code and some stuff that it did that just didn't resonate with us, and it had a few bugs, a few problems for us. So we set out, me and my lead developer, Jack. Jack's a phenomenal guy. I found him on a freelancing website, and the first thing I did was pulled him off the freelancing website. I was like, you don't use that anymore. We'll find a way, but I'll keep you on. And he transformed my business. And so together we've built. I was more of the strategy side of things. He was the code. It's all his code. And we built a plugin. and we called it first of all, we called it Infusion Press. And then there was some issues with trademark and we want to be on everyone's right, we want to be on the good side of everyone. So we renamed it WPFusion. And it started off not as a membership plugin, but it was really a competitor to Customer Hub. I didn't want to pay a monthly fee to sync data. And so what we do is we offer Infusionsoft data in WordPress. So users can go onto the front end of WordPress, they can edit their profile and it will sync in real time to Infusionsoft. And if you make any updates in Infusionsoft, it will again sync across to WordPress. So you've got a real-time sync between the platforms.
Name, address, phone number.
Name, email, bio, password, email address, a normal address, cat's favourite food, whatever custom fields you've got. And you can create custom fields in WordPress in Infusionsoft, sorry.
Does it sync up like the credit card information, or that's really separate?
If you want it to, if you ask it to, we don't do that because of SSL and encryption and things like that. We could, and it could do that, absolutely. But the other thing we wanted to do is we didn't want a monthly fee.
Gotcha.
We wanted to get away from that. Because you're on Infusionsoft, we're going to charge you a load of money.
Right.
We wanted a really lean, really lightweight, because we don't constantly connect to Infusionsoft like other plugins. We just connect and we put all of the tags across, all of the data across, and we put it in WordPress. And if you want to connect, you can set it up to do it manually or automatically. It's up to you.
Okay.
But there's not a constant connection, which means it's very quick. We're open source, 100% open source. So you can see all the code.
So I can get WPFusion for free?
You can't get it for free. You can go and see all of the code. You can access it. I mean, it's still a paid plugin.
Okay.
And there's a developer license. You can use it as many sites, or there's an individual license.
Is it pay once versus
yes.
Well, there you
paid
go.
once. Pay once. You pay $250 for the year, which gives you support. If you want to renew it, you can, which will renew the support.
Right.
But if you don't want to, you're not obliged to. You can still keep the plugin. It just means you won't get ongoing support and updates.
Okay, makes sense.
But you've got the plugin, and that's what counts.
Very good.
And that for us was really important because we didn't want that month. There are too many SaaS programs and there's too many monthly fees that people get caught up into, and we didn't want that.
Yeah.
But so the other thing that it does is that it's not just to sync the data across. We link into things like Gravity Forms, so you can create fully responsive conditional logic forms where you can ask questions on your website, and depending on what they answer depends on what tag gets applied on a fully responsive form.
So yeah, so I guess you're taking the place. I mean, typically what we've done is we create chained Infusionsoft campaign web forms, one that calls the next one.
Yeah, you don't need to do that anymore.
But you're taking advantage of all the Gravity Forms can give you, and then providing the tagging that goes with it.
Depending on what question they answer, depending on the answer to a question, you can actually choose the next question. Right. And depending on how they answer, depends on what tag gets applied. So you could ask someone a budget question. Have you got a low, medium, or high budget? And depending on what they answer, depends on what tag, depends on the email sequence you send out.
I
don't have any forms in Infusionsoft.
I am so glad I reached out to you.
No, that's good. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, no. And
see, the other thing.
Yeah, the interesting thing is what caught my attention about your post this past weekend was your use of Graphly, because you were touting, hey, this is a great solution.
Yes.
And I'm finding out about all this WPFusion, which, I mean, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I've got a customer that I need this for. But the dashboard usage that you were describing, we were talking about this before we started the call, is really interesting because this is a shortfall in a lot of my customers' world because they can't get at their data easily, I'd like to say.
That was my problem.
Right. So walk us through. So you had a problem, which is, okay, I've got data in the system that I need to make visible to someone easily, so I have an online course.
Yeah, so I have an online course. The thing that we do, one of the things we do with WPFusion is we tag people when they land on a page. Okay. So if someone lands on a page, we can tag them, and we can delay that. So what happens is people are constantly getting tagged when they land on in LearnDash, which is a program I use. Right. When they land on a topic, they get tagged, and when they mark complete, they get tagged. And so what I do is I create an accountability sequence in the middle.
Okay,
So I have...
Let's stand back just so that people can get this. So I've got a course, and let's say I'm using LearnDash, and it has, I don't know, chapter 1, 2, and 3, right? So when they arrive on the class, you know they arrived, and when they hit the mark complete, you know that. So you can track how far people are along your content, right?
I can track when they start a section and when they finish a section. And if they start and don't finish, I have a start tag and a finish tag with accountability sequence in the middle. And so I send them emails 3, 7, 14, 21, 30 days, holding them accountable. And obviously, as soon as they mark that as complete, that cuts out that accountability sequence.
Perfect. So, if people are straggling...
This is why I need a Graphly, because I've got 10 chapters in my course,
right,
and each one has sub-chapters, so I have all of these people going through my course, but I had no real way to identify them. So what I did is I got Graphly, and again, I was against it at first, because I was like, it's another $50 a month I've got to pay out, but I got it, and when I put it in, it was like, I'm glad they exist and I'm annoyed in the same sentence, and they're great guys. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I've spoken to them a few times. This should be core in Infusionsoft. There should be no need for Graphly. They shouldn't need to exist.
Right.
But they do.
But there's a
and I'm glad they do, because
it's similar.
They create what Infusionsoft's missing.
Right. Last week we were talking to the guys from Wicked Reports, and they exist because the reporting is, especially if you want beginning to end reporting, you're missing there. And I guess Graphly is more of like a dashboard builder, right?
So what you do is you can create dashboards. So for example, I've got an overview, and then I've got individual. So I've got, they do tag funnels. So you can put when they've started a tag, when they finish a tag. And so you can see people that go through a process, almost like a sales funnel. If you have a tag that gets applied throughout the sales funnel every step, you can monitor that sales funnel. But not just that, financial reports, graphs. I've got a complete overview of my business. I can see what months are doing well. I can see trends, topics, what works, what doesn't. Anyone that's falling behind, I can catch them. It's just completely opened up my business to a whole new level.
Wow, that's cool. So, okay, we've got probably another 5-10 minutes. I want to make sure we get to this. So you have your book, and yesterday I was looking on your feed, kind of prepping for this, and I was noticing you're asking people which font they prefer, the right or the left. Tell us about your book. So it's about how to build a website, right? Or what's important about a website.
I do a lot of posts like that, and they're very clever in a way, because I think everyone wants to give you an opinion, and everyone wants to give you valuable advice. So if you give them something that's very easy, like a legible and an illegible font, and ask them their opinion, it's going to be unanimous. Everyone's going to be included. They're going to feel good, and also you're branding yourself and you're getting awareness out there. Right. So I've done some rebranding on a few things. My book's called Plan Your Website. I'm not going to sit and plug it or anything, but if people do want to look, planyourwebsite.co.uk.
No. By the way, if you want to do a commercial.
No. I mean, I'm not here for that. That's not why I was doing this. It was to give value. But the whole purpose of the book is from a developer's perspective and a business owner's perspective. I'm crossing the barrier between strategy and design and development, and I'm merging it together to give the business owner, the entrepreneur, the questions that they need to be asking, because most people say, I need a website, and they don't have a clue what that means.
Right.
So I'm really looking at the strategy, and I'm like, these are the things that you need to be successful.
Right,
and the book really is just talking about
websites.
Yeah, and I don't do brochure. I'm only going to talk about products or services. I mean, if you've got a business, then you need to make money. You need to be profitable. So, and I don't want to, it's not how to be profitable, because people define success in different ways.
Sure.
You may be building your brand, you may be whatever, but for whatever you're doing, to be successful, you need to do these things. And so what I've done is I've created a book, and it's really analogies. I liken it to building a deck or servicing your car or baking a cake. It's really simplified, taking out all the overwhelm, taking out all the stress, and just giving absolute clarity of this is what you need to do. So there's the book, and then there's a workbook, and the workbook takes you through. It's a really easy step-by-step guide that if you fill in all the questions, you'll have a plan, and you can give that plan to your developer, your designer. You can use it yourself, because I've then got a course which then teaches you step-by-step how to build a website. So the book's Plan Your Website. I've got a course called Build Your Website. And Graphly and WPFusion is what runs all of this software and all these courses.
So as I go through, if I were to get this book, Yeah, I'm looking at all the steps. Now, does it get into, are we using Ryan Dice's The Machine to drive traffic? I mean, it gets into that sort of thing? I mean, probably not.
I talk about that. I mean, chapter 2 of my book is the customer journey, and I went to Traffic and Conversion last year, and I met Russell Brunson at Traffic and Conversion, and it was actually, I had a strange conversation with Russell. I told him I loved him and I hated him at the same time, and that was our first ever conversation.
Okay.
I loved him because in a conversation that we had just in a few minutes, he gave me one of those golden nuggets. If that 2 to 3 minute conversation was all I took away from Traffic and Conversion, it was worth everything, because that nugget he gave me was the missing chapter in my book, and it allowed me to go and write my book, because I've been procrastinating for 2 years, not finishing a book. I rewrote the book 3 times before I published it because I didn't have that chapter. So what he basically did was gave me, he didn't realise he did it, but he gave me the missing link. I went away, rewrote the entire book off the back of that. And that chapter was chapter 2, which is the customer journey. And so I do touch on Ryan Diaz, I do touch on the whole selling machine and the ascension model and the engagement. But I don't, look, I know internet marketing, I've got a lot of internet marketing friends and I respect internet marketers, but I don't like the hype and the BS that comes across in a lot of these tacky sales. I'm not that sort of person.
No,
I'm more of a heart-centered, value-based, people-to-people, or person-to-person. Let me add value to your life. That's what I want to do.
And
how can I serve you?
You know, I service a lot of audiences. When, you know, we're building websites, we're doing Infusionsoft campaigns, and in some audiences it makes a lot of sense. But I've got a guy in Australia that we're building a site for, and he provides programming lessons, Android, Java programming, things like that. And he's talking to me. That's me. That's who I've been. I actually used to teach Java programming, and I go, you don't need hype. You just need to be credible. And it's just different, and it's the way you kind of woo the, I want to say the geek audience is completely different from the info marketer world. So.
Well, and this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to take that geek out of the equation, because look, we can all look at bells and whistles. We can all look at shiny objects.
Your audience is those geeks, but I hear you.
No, I get that, but the reason I want to take it out was because I think, and I'm a geek.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm through and through. I love coding, I love playing with things, I love pulling things apart, I love building things, but that's probably been my biggest downfall in business. Because in business, being a geek doesn't necessarily get you the paycheck. You just need a solution, and you need to get it effectively and quickly, and you need to know, what does my... See, when people build a website, they think, oh, what do I want? Respectfully, the first thing I say to people in a meeting is, I don't give a shit what you want. If you've got a website, it's not about you. It's about who's going to be visiting your website. It's about your target audience, about them. So let's talk about what they want.
Absolutely.
That's one of the first things I do, and it's getting that clarity and stepping out of the equation and getting yourself out of your own way.
And this is what you're calling part of this customer journey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the whole process. It's the whole book. The 10 chapters talks about the whole thing about, I talk about design, content, systems, split testing, analytics, bug testing. They're the 10 chapters of the book.
Yeah, and by the way, I looked it up. It's like, what, £4 for your book or something like that?
Depends where you get it from. Yeah, if you get it on my website, the digital version is £4.99. If you go onto Amazon, you can check on there. You can get a paperback. I've got the audio, Kindle. So really, pick your poison, whatever you prefer.
Yeah. It's very reasonable. I'm getting it because
I'll make it accessible. See, the thing with the book is, look, I don't even mind. Hell, I'd give the book away. It really doesn't bother me. In fact, if you go to planyourwebsite.co.uk/free-gift, you can read the entire first chapter and don't even want a name or email address. I don't even want your details.
Okay.
Because the first chapter is the most important. To me, it's about making knowledge accessible for people. If they want to go further, they will. I don't need to try and sell it to them. I don't need to try and trap people into buying something.
Sure.
We do well with what we do, and this is just a way of one way of giving back, if nothing else. But at the same token, if people don't pay for something, they don't value it, and they don't take action.
That's true. Well, good. Well, Steve, thank you so much for cutting time out of your day to meet with us. We've covered a bunch of different topics. I know that I'm going to look into Graphly, and WPFusion with that integration is interesting because, again, I'm always looking for what's the best tool for different solutions, and I really wasn't familiar with the details of what that was. Any parting thoughts?
I would say don't overcomplicate things. The biggest problem that I think people have when they get started with these systems is, you know, you've got Infusionsoft and you've got your website and you've got this and that and you've got all these systems need to work together, and the more complex they are, the more complicated they are, the more moving parts, the more chance something's going to break. And I dread to think how much time people spend fixing problems that just they shouldn't exist in the first place. So
a big advocate of
I was going to say my parting thought to say anything would be KISS. Keep it simple.
Absolutely.
Stupidly simple.
Yeah.
Not going to insult anyone.
Great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate having you on, and we'll get this posted so people can see it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, anything I can do to help. I mean, let me know when you post it. I'll be around, answer any questions, or anything I can do to help you, help your listeners. I'm here.
Great. Have a good one.
Take care. Thanks very much, George. Bye-bye.